Senator McCain's dream of putting his lobbyist problem behind him quite possibly turning into his own nightmare. Just 2 weeks ago, the senator having purged 4 staff members, including one of his general co-chairs, from his campaign based on their lobbying activities. And breaking news tonight in a Countdown exclusive, we have now learned that the other general co-chair, Phil Gramm, was working as a lobbyist for a foreign bank here in the United States. That is, the former Texas senator was paid to lobby Congress specifically about the mortgage crisis. At the exact same time, he was helping to craft Senator McCain's economic policies and home mortgage crisis policies as an unpaid McCain economic advisor.
Well, I just want to make a point that I think is being missed here.
Gramm officially joined the McCain campaign on March 12, 2007, but as early as October 2006, Real Clear Politics reported that McCain was already relying on Gramm for fundraising help. McCain's top political operative at the time saying, Gramm, quote, obviously gives us advice on economic issues. At the same time he was giving that advice, federal disclosure forms reviewed by Countdown show that Gramm was simultaneously being paid by UBS to lobby the United States Senate about the mortgage crisis, opposing government regulation, helping to kill a 2006 anti-predatory lending bill that would have tightened consumer protections and might have mitigated the current crisis. As recently as December 31st of last year, still working for Swiss bankers specifically to help kill the Emergency Home Ownership and Mortgage Equity Protection Act and the Helping Families Save Their Homes in Bankruptcy Act, a bill that would have let bankruptcy judges adjust mortgage terms so American families facing foreclosure could repay their loans and keep their homes. 3 months later, McCain gave his broadest statement to date on the mortgage crisis.
Our financial market approach should include encouraging increased capital in financial institutions by removing regulatory, accounting, and tax impediments.
Removing regulatory impediments, a Gramm mantra. Politico.com writing, some housing experts and economists see Gramm's thinking in the recent housing proposal. The McCain campaign confirmed that Gramm had input on the speech and that McCain consulted Gramm specifically on the housing issue. Some economists blame Gramm in part for the crisis itself. As Senate banking chairman, Gramm consistently weakened federal regulations. His deregulation of energy commodities first helped his wife's employer, then killed it. In 1999, the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, which McCain voted for, broke down the decades-old wall separating commercial banks, heavily regulated, from the wild and woolly world of investment banking, a wall erected in 1933 to prevent a repeat of the Great Depression. 1 month after Gramm knocked that wall down, UBS bragged to investors that his bill would liberalize restrictions. UBS bought PaineWebber the very next year and hired Gramm before he even left the Senate. Gramm's deregulation helped set the stage for an explosion of banks slicing up subprime mortgages, bundling them with other mortgage slices to hide the credit risks, and selling mortgage stew to other investment firms. That gave lenders powerful incentive to make as many loans as possible, regardless of risk, because they could still turn around and sell those mortgages almost immediately. Gramm himself said he was totally unaware just how many bad mortgages his own company bought. At last count, UBS had lost $37 billion in the mortgage crisis and plans to lay off 5,500 people next year, primarily in the U.S. McCain has hinted he might make Gramm his Treasury Secretary. But Gramm's economic track record worries even McCain's own advisors. One of them telling the Washington Post last month, I, for one, have thought about it a lot. One economist said McCain is counting on people having very short memories and not connecting some pretty obvious dots here. 2 weeks after that report, UBS removed Gramm from its list of registered lobbyists. But federal lobbying forums show at least 2 other McCain staffers, Congressional Liaison John Green and National Finance Co-Chair Wayne Berman, were both still lobbying on behalf of the mortgage industry as recently as the first quarter of this year. And the McCain campaign responding tonight in a statement. Spokesman Brian Rogers saying, quote, it is sort of nonsense when you consider that the reality is that places like UBS and Wall Street want a bailout from the federal government. And unlike Senators Obama and Clinton, McCain is the only one who doesn't want to give a bailout but wants to focus on homeowners who are truly in need. The reality, the statement goes on, is John McCain has proposed a common-sense plan to help truly needy homeowners enact reforms to make sure this crisis never happens again. Phil Gramm works for a big Wall Street bank. He's not benefiting from John McCain's plan, so I don't see a nexus. Nothing in our report, of course, referred to the bailout aspect, and even if it had, the Fed just changed its policies to start the unprecedented step of extending its bank rate overnight loans to investment firms, UBS included. As for Rogers' statement that McCain has a plan to help homeowners enact reforms, homeowners do not enact reforms. Lawmakers enact reforms. Lawmakers enact reforms. Lawmakers enact reforms. As far as McCain's planned reforms go, he has said, as we mentioned, that he wants to remove regulatory impediments and not add them. Finally, Senator Graham got his current job after helping deregulate the banking industry in the first place. It should be no stretch of the imagination to see that achieving further deregulation under a McCain administration might also accrue to Senator Graham's benefit.